So let's talk about lists. All right. So if you want to create a list in Prolog, you would create it like this. Let's see. Apple, pear, grape, like that. Of course, if I just do it here, it's not going to understand what I'm talking about because it's a list that's just hanging out. So we could create a fact though, basket, apple, pear, grape. Nope. All right, let's create a fact in the a couple facts in an example. So vi lists list.pl. All right, so we'll create a basket of yummy stuff. All right, so we're going to have apple, prune, grape. And we'll create a second basket. And that's going to have some delicious fruits, peach, pear. Okay. Now, we can also create lists by, so I've created a name basket and I put a list in there. So I actually have two different lists that are in my collection of baskets. And I'm going to create a third one, basket A and B, C. So what did I just do here? Well, this vertical bar, that vertical bar right there, that stands for concatenation. And the way concatenation works in Prolog is fairly straightforward. So what this will do is this is the tail of the list, and this is the head of the list. So A is the first element in the list. It's like first, and this is the rest of the list. So this, in effect, will create a list that is A, B, C. It's the same thing as saying A, comma, B, comma, C, but I'm using the concatenation operator. We'll create one more basket, A, B, and B, C. Okay, so that's going to take AB and insert it into the list BC. So we'll have the list AB, comma, B, comma, C. That's the list we're creating with that concatenation operator. All right, now what if I wanted to get some information extracted from the list? Well, maybe I want to create a rule called head. So head uses the facts that I've created about baskets and get some interesting things about the basket. So head of H is going to get us the head of the list. And that's determined by taking basket and taking H, which is the first element of the list, and that's concatenated to T. Sorry, whoops, I gotta say this. We have a list with H concatenated with T. Okay. All right. I'm just looking in here and seeing I've made I've got a little syntax error here. Okay, let's just fix that. And I'm just going to, so it's a little less confusing. We'll just have AB inserted into C. Okay. All right, let's see how that works out. So G Prolog, and we'll load list. Whoops. I see another error here. There we go. Okay, so now that we have defined how to get a couple of lists, and we defined how to get to the head of the list, let's just take a look at that head of the list rule before let's look at that one more time. So head of list says, take any basket, pull the first element out. The list, and any basket list is comprised of H, the first element of the list, concatenated with T, the rest of the stuff in the list. So what we should see if we do a query that says, hey, give me the heads of every basket, we should see apple, peach, A, and AB. So let's see what happens. Okay, now we're going to say head X, period. So apple, peach, A, and then AB. There you go. That gives us the stuff that's at the front of the list. Now, if we wanted to get the tail of the list, we could also do that. Let's get to our list.pl file, and let's write a tail method, our tail rule. So tail T is basket H T. So it's the same rule, it's just saying we're going after the tail of the list instead of the head of the list. All right, and we'll do list. And now we'll say tail X, and we'll get the back side of each of the lists. Fantastic. All right. All right. What would be really nice now is if we could work a little bit on the idea of, is something the member of a list? Okay, so we're trying to figure out if there's some membership. So what I'd really like to do is be able to write a method like this, a rule like this, member A, B, C, and what I'll get back is true if A is a member and false if it's not. Now, it's interesting that it worked. So we're going to call our thing X member A, B, C. Okay, that fails because we haven't defined the method or defined the rule. Okay, so we'd like to figure out if we can find membership of A in this list. So let's do a little bit of planning about how you might do that. All right, so how would that planning work? Well, let me get our good friend screen mirroring up here. And I can see that I'm about to run out of juice. So I'm gonna grab a little cable here. Well, I can't believe we're at the end of the semester, and this has just been the craziest semester ever. I don't recall in all the years I've been teaching something this insane. And I hope that you're holding up well. And I hope that things go well for you in the summer for whatever you do, whether you're working on an internship or ending up at home or ending up working a job. But I hope things go well with you. Okay, well, we're ready to go. All right, so let's talk about our friend member. It keeps wanting me to trust the computer. Member. Okay, so A, trust. Okay, so member A, and then A, B, C. So I see what's happening here. Hang on a second. That is not going to work. We'll do this instead. Okay. So we've got to figure out if A is in this list. And the tools we have are pretty basic. So what I would propose doing is that we think about this. Get the head of the list. Is it the same as our check value? Is it the same as our check value? If the answer is yes, then we've reached our goal. If the answer is no, then create a new list. With head removed. And then go back and repeat. And we're going to do that until the list is not empty. So we're going to kind of repeat this process. So we'll get the head of the list. We'll check to see if it's the same as the check value. If it is, we've reached our goal. Let's say we're searching for C instead. All right, so we're doing is member C ABC. So we would get the head of the list, A. Is it the same as the check value? No. So create a new list with the head removed. All right. Get the head of the list. B, is it the same as the check value? C, no. Then create a new list with just C in it. Get the head of the list. C, is it the same as the check value? Yes, we've reached our goal. And then let's say we were searching for X. Let's say we were searching for X. Well, now after extracting C, we have an empty list, so we would be done. All right. So let's think about how to make this work then. So here's our member method, our member rule, and let's just do a base case. So member X, period. So if we call like member AA, that's true. Okay, And let's do a test for member of the head of the list. All right. So let's say we've got member X list. All right, so how's that going to work? Well, that is the same as saying member X head of the list. But remember, that is the way to get the head of the list is to say, is to separate the list into two parts. All right, head or tail. So we can describe this, the list is head or tail. So we can describe this a little better. So this is kind of like a rough sketch of what we want to do, but let's rephrase this. So we'd like to try to find out if X is a member of this list. So what we're going to do is we're going to re-describe the list as head and tail. So that's our list. And that is going to be checking to see of member X H. Okay. So that is another thing that we can test, right? So we can check to see if X is equal to itself. In other words, we've got a member AA. That's a base case, and if that returns true, we've reached a goal state. We can also test X against the head of the list. All right. So this rule does that. And then finally, we can test X against the tail of the list. Okay. So why don't we see if we can get this to work or do a trace of how this would operate. All right, so for the trace to make sense, what you want to do is you want to consider these rules that we have. All right, so the rules are actually, let me just highlight them here. That's a statement, a rule. This is also a rule. And this is a rule. Okay. So let's do a trace of the following. We'll try to do a trace of member X, A, comma, B. So not a lot, but it'll blow up a little bit. Okay. So we're looking for basically all the potential member. I mean, this is kind of cute, but this query is basically saying, give me all possible members of the list AB. All right, so let's try it. So the first possibility is that first rule, member A, B, A, B, and X is that first one. That is a possibility. So that would be a goal, and X is equal to AB. All right, second possibility, and this is with the self member XX. Whoops. I'll just write that. This is the member XX method. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. this is the head method. So this would say member X A. So in this situation, we're taking the head of the list AB, and that's A, and we're binding that to X. Or we'll bind it, we'll try to see if we can bind that to X. So that would be member X, X, or AA, and that would be a goal. Let me just rewrite that as AA, because this we're saying it's XX, remember AA. So AA, and that's a goal. X equals A. Another possibility is the head possibility, where we're saying member X, comma, head of the list, where A is an atom, so that's going to fail. So the head will fail. I'll just write that head and then fail. Head, fail. And the last possibility is tail. And since this isn't a list, this will also fail. But we did reach one goal where X is equal to A for that first test. All right, let's do the tail. So here we're doing member X B. All right, so in this situation, we're going to say member. So we'll do self first. This is going to blow up. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to erase this part and go down here and say we've got three possibilities of resolving this. We've got member B, B. So X is B, and that's going to be a goal, and X is equal to B. All right. Then we have head. So that will be member X, B. And we have to resolve this again, and it resolves three ways, self, head, tail. So self would be member B, B, and that's a goal with X equal to B. So this was the list containing B, this is just B. Then there's the head, which is going to be a fail because B is not a list. And then there's the tail, which is also going to be a fail because B is not a list. And finally, we've got the tail. So this is going to be member X, and the tail of this list right here is the empty list. Whoops. And we'll resolve that with self member empty list, comma, empty list. That's a goal because that is equal to itself. And that's X equals empty list. And then we would have the head of the list, the head of the empty list. There is nothing in the empty list. That's head, so that would be a fail. And there's no tail in the empty list either, so that would be a fail. So we're going to end up with our solution of AB, of A, of the list B, and of the element B, and the empty list. So that will be our solution for this problem. Pretty cool. Okay, so that, we're going to call this X member. Whoops, sorry. We're going to call that this X member because I guess there is some kind of member function already in Prolog, but we wrote our own from scratch. So the process of writing it must have seemed a little strange, right? I kind of did an outline of what the process would look like, but in Prolog, you don't specify process, you just define rules. And the rules I defined were some real basic rules. X is a member of itself, so that's one rule. And then the other two rules I defined were look to see if X and the head of the list are members. And I described the list as a combination of a header, a head, and a tail. Then I also did the same thing with the list again. I said, look for X and to see if it's a member of the tail. I don't have to worry about the fact that the tail might return a list because the member methods will handle both two lists that are the same, checking to see if two lists are the same, and also extracting elements from a list using head and tail. So it all works out. All right.